Ladies and gentlemen, get ready to embark on a journey like no other. Welcome to the Glum Lot Podcast,
your go-to destination for a unique blend of recovery and discovery.
I'm Brett.
And I'm Mark. And in this podcast, we will endeavor to create a safe and uplifting space for our guests and listeners to share their stories with sincerity and a touch of humor.
Remember, we are not a Glum Lot. The Glum Lot Podcast is more than just a source of entertainment. It's a beacon of hope, proving that even in the darkest moments, recovery is possible. Every story we share carries the power to inspire positive change.
So buckle up, get ready to listen, and join us in discovering the strength that lies within every individual's journey. This is the Glum Lot Podcast, where humor meets hope. All right, Brett, this is episode 46 of the Glum Lot Podcast.
Hi, Mark.
Hi, Brett.
You know, it is hot as hell out.
It is a very warm day, very humid. Heat index was
104.
Is that all? That's not bad. Frankly, I was out in it.
I mean, seriously.
It's really not that bad.
Oh, man, we've become so weak.
I know. I don't think it's that bad. I wouldn't want to live in it every day. But for a short spell, 4 days, you know.
I mean, gee whiz.
One day at a time. I wanted to remind anybody who's listening to join our Facebook group, the Glum Lot Podcast Facebook group. Contact us at the glumlotpodcast@gmail.com. We are currently searching for guests.
Yes.
So we can do them remotely, no matter where you live. So, because we can do it over the cell phone with our Podbean app. So if you would like to be on the show, please contact us. We'd love to have you. Or if you know somebody who can do it.
Had a good, impact on
your
life.
We've got a couple people coming up in the near future that have contacted us that we don't know that are going to be pretty cool guests.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah. So, but anyway, that being said, because I did say it.
You did.
What's on your mind?
I was thinking today.
Oh, boy.
Oh, boy, right?
Think.
And I was thinking about, this whole thing of coming in here. And especially today, because I wasn't feeling that great. So I spent the day in bed, actually. And it reminded me of the days that I just spent in bed as a result of my
depression,
yes,
alcoholism.
Absolutely. So I got to thinking about that and how amazing it was that I was able to find this program. Now, prior to that, I had seen mental health counselors. I had seen pastors. I had seen friends of family, dogs, cats. I mean, you name it. But none of it ever stuck with me until I talked with another alcoholic.
That's an alcoholic from Okinawa.
That's right.
An alcoholic. And you know something, that's also true for Bill and Bob.
Right. There was some identification.
That was the factor. That was the X factor.
The X factor.
Yep. The thing that made the sum, the whole greater than the sum of the parts.
Absolutely.
You add that in there, and you called it earlier, you said, how we identify with each other. And we identify with our common experience, and we have a common problem.
We do, a malady.
Right. And what happens is we find we can share a common solution, and that's the best part.
Without the being ashamed, embarrassed,
right.
Or they don't understand, all those things. It's just gone.
That's why I think it's so important when people ask me, I have a cousin, I have a brother, alcohol problem, I'm like, take them to a meeting, not because I'm saying this meeting is going to cure them, but because they're going to find themselves amongst a group of people who have the same problem, who have the same experiences, and have a solution. And that's going to be their way out. And other than that, I don't know what to tell them.
I do.
What?
What if there's not a meeting right away? I think they could listen to the Glum Lot Podcast and identify very well, too. But we do want them to get to a meeting.
Yes,
absolutely.
It's not a substitute.
Heck no.
Yeah, it's it would be like you can't just hand them a big book and say, here you go.
That's right.
You're all set. Read this, self-help section. So,
absolutely.
And it takes a lot more than that, of course. But that meeting, that first taste of live talk with another alcoholic works miracles.
Absolutely. And everybody we talk to, they say the first thing that I realized that made me feel okay was I heard somebody else telling my story.
Yeah. Yep.
So how cool.
Sure, and that's what keeps you coming back.
And we got a story coming up.
We do. We got a guy, we call him Big Dave.
Big Dave.
He's pretty tall.
Very tall.
His story is big.
He is one of my top 5, actually.
He's a very kind guy.
Yes, and very humble, and I always look forward to his shares. So, yeah, he's definitely one of my top 5. So I was very afraid to ask him.
Yeah.
So our friend Matt did it for me.
Oh, that's sweet.
And of course, I was thinking, he won't ever do it, and I'm just full of shit. And he said I would love to. So
awesome.
Here he comes.
So let's welcome Big Dave.
Hey.
Big Dave, welcome to the Glum Lot Podcast. Glad to have you here.
Yeah,
thank you.
And we're going to start, as we always do, with your sobriety date.
My sobriety date is July 28th of 2018.
Okay. And we usually like to go back to the start. We like to find out how everybody's first experience with the effects of alcohol was. So if you can rewind that and take us back to your youth.
Yeah, what was the feeling?
Yeah.
When I was like 16 years old, and the feeling was, it took me out of myself. I felt like all the other stuff that was going on in my life didn't matter anymore.
Yeah.
And, it just, it worked right away for me.
Yeah.
What was your first drink of choice? Do you remember?
Blackberry brandy.
Ooh, that's a first.
You guys are classy.
Yeah, blackberry brandy.
Look at you.
Was that from the parents' stash?
It was from a friend of mine's parents' stash.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
So did you fall in love from day one?
I did.
Did you chase it?
I did chase it. I had an older brother that was alcoholic. And, I kind of followed his path.
Yeah. So because you had an older brother, was it more available to you as well?
Yeah. Yes.
What about pot or any other drugs?
Marijuana was a big part of my story. Cocaine's a big part of my story.
But so you're in high school and you have this experience with alcohol. And as we know, when you're older in high school, those parties, get-togethers, people have talked about driving to the cemetery, bonfires, all that stuff is a very, prolific way of living as a teen in suburbia or whatever. And so I'm guessing that was your experience, right? Going to these parties, drinking, getting fucked up and doing stupid shit, right?
Exactly. Oh, yeah.
Did I hit the nail on the head?
You did.
Are you drinking more than other people, or are you pretty much in the pack?
I had to drink. I drank for effect.
Yeah.
So I had to drink until I was absolutely obliviated. So I drank as much as I possibly could.
Right from the get-go.
Right from the get-go.
Yeah.
So when you started, who knows, right?
Right. Who knew?
It might be 6, it might be 60. We don't know.
Exactly.
Any experiences when you were young with blackouts, anything like that?
My first time I drank, I blacked out.
Oh, boy.
I remember coming in the house and falling down the stairs, and my mother was down there. And
did she know?
She knew I was drunk.
Yeah. What did they say?
Wait till your father gets home.
Oh, man.
And what happened when your father got
worked nights?
Yeah, what happened when he got home?
My father's very strict, so he would. I remember back when I grew up, it was in the 70s. He would give me brush cuts because I wanted long hair.
Oh, God, that was a punishment?
Oh, man.
Oh, shit. Everybody what did you do, Dave?
So that's one of my punishments I used to get. So I was always had these brush cuts when I was growing up in high school.
Yeah, you had a brush cut constantly?
Well, pretty much, yeah. I had my story is,
Any consequences from drinking when you were in high school?
I did. More with drinking and drugging.
Yeah.
I got kicked out of a marking period at high school.
Oh, you got kicked out of school?
Of school for 3 months.
For what?
For telling a teacher to fuck off.
Oh. Were you drunk or high at the time?
I was always high at high school.
Okay, so it was just part of the scene you were in.
It was. I was very rebellious.
Fuck you to authority.
Yeah, exactly.
I had a little problem with authority.
So I had a tutor at home for 3 months.
Okay.
So you get out of high school. What happens?
I went directly in. I was out a year. Mm-hmm. And my life, I was heavily into drug and alcohol at that point, and I went into the military.
Which branch?
Army.
Okay. So you get into the Army, you go to basic, You can't use or drink during basic, right?
Right. Not for the first few, 2 months.
Yeah. How was that for you?
Well, it was kind of tough, actually.
Yeah, because not only that, but but you're in basic.
Yeah,
and back then it was different, right?
It was different.
A little harder.
More hardcore.
Yeah. So you got a drill instructor screaming in your face the whole time.
How were you going to deal with the pain? Oh, no.
I know.
Well, yeah, it was pretty rough. But
so you get out of basic, you go to school, then you get your job, right? And where do you go?
I went right where I probably shouldn't have went, Germany.
Okay. Yeah. No, I have friends that went to Germany in the 70s.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of hash.
Do they have alcohol?
A lot of drinking, a lot of
drugs,
opiates.
a lot of heroin.
Yep.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I had a friend.
Back
then.
I had a friend who went into the Army straight and became a heroin addict.
No kidding.
Yeah, and back then, for some reason, he told me, they really couldn't kick you out because your heroin addiction was a product of your service. So they tried to take care of you. So I said, so what did they do? So they used to take this guy, and they would put him in a truck that didn't move for the entire day with a mattress. And they just he just existed.
Wow.
Yeah. And I don't know if they had the rehabs back then. Probably not, right? Or maybe.
No.
It wasn't like it is now. People weren't as aware of it. It was more like, this guy's a pain in the ass. Just put him somewhere.
They were just actually starting to do drug testing then. I never got tested the whole time I was in the military.
Okay, yeah. Another guy we had on talked about that. Because when he came in, they didn't have it.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, boom, they started doing it. And all these people were getting bounced.
Right.
You know?
Now, were you still, functional, though?
Yeah,
I
started out as a very good soldier.
Yeah.
And then, I got in with a course I went directly to the people who were like me.
We always find our people.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah. So I was also heavily into LSD at that point, too.
Okay. So you're basically what they call tripping balls.
Oh, I was going to say that.
As you're handling
never
it
get
like
the good
some kind of
opportunities.
attack missile.
Well, I was in the field artillery.
Oh, great. Man, we got to kill these dragons.
I'm seeing trails.
Holy shit. And there's a lot of that going on, right?
There was a lot of heavy drug use. A lot of alcohol was huge.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think when you were in, it was probably peaking, but I think they kind of tried to get a handle on that because it just became so pervasive.
I was in the late 70s and early 80s, so right after that it got where they were getting.
Yeah, they started clamping down. They were like, you know what? Putting field artillery in the hands of somebody who's tripping is not a good idea.
Yeah.
Well, they never knew that. They should have known that, but they didn't.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of that going on. But So your drug use, your alcohol use you're in your early 20s, right?
I was, I went in at 19 and I was in 20, turning 21 when I was overseas. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So, and there's kind of no guardrail. As long as you don't do anything completely stupid, you can fly under the radar and just be high and party all the time, right?
Yeah, I did some stupid stuff when I was over.
Anything you'd like to share?
Anything with consequences?
Well, I remember stealing a Jeep. We were looking for drugs. We were out in the field.
It's like
and
MASH.
Stealing a Jeep and going on, we're out where our guns are, and I took the Jeep out of the motor pool, went out looking for drugs, and
like in the streets of Germany.
I was in Baumholder, Germany, on the base.
Oh, so people were dealing drugs on the base.
Oh yeah.
I like the name of the place, Baumholder.
Right.
Holy shit.
Yeah, it was Baumholder, Germany. So
now, are you saying Baumholder?
BAUM holder.
Okay.
So
it sounds like somebody holding a bomb that's tripping. Don't drop it.
So I got caught doing that.
Yeah.
And I got an Article 15 for that.
Now, what is that? What is an Article 15?
It's like a reprimand, and they might take 2 weeks of pay and then put you on the base for a month.
So you got
duty.
You got a spanking.
I did get a spanking.
It's documented.
Yeah. But not unusual behavior.
There was a lot of stuff that I did that was crazy. We used to get in fights, tons of stuff that happened over there that affected my service. But I was a good soldier up until my disease actually started progressing more
in the
when
Army.
I was in the military.
Oh, okay.
And how many years were you in?
3.
Okay. Yeah. So it comes time to get out. Do they try to get you to stay? Or were they just like,
they wanted me to
no, we usually offer, if you sign on for more, we usually offer a bonus. We'll give you a bonus to not sign on.
They gave me a bonus to come in. They didn't give me a bonus to want me to stay. Trust me, they wanted me out of there.
So you get out of the military, you land back here at in the U.S., right? Yeah. And what do you do?
I actually milked unemployment for, this was in the early 80s, for like a year, and I just went out and partied every night.
Like crazy?
Like crazy. I
and
had
then,
a lot of friends that were
So your disease is progressing.
It was
right?
progressing.
Are you realizing somewhere in the back of your mind that this is not good?
No.
It was just what you wanted to do, and you're like, I'm realizing this is
got to kill some time.
Yeah. And
yeah,
so
I did. At that point, it didn't matter to me at all.
So unemployment is over. You have to get a job. Where do you land?
I landed at a couple companies in Syracuse, where I was only there for, they were temporary jobs at that point.
Yeah.
And I was only there maybe 6 months at one, another 6 months. But I finally landed at a company in 1983 where I stayed.
So the whole time you're using whatever's available and drinking.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. And so at what point do consequences start to enter your life?
1986, I got my first DWI.
Okay. What was the story with that? What happened?
I bet he was drinking.
Oh.
I was definitely
that's
drinking.
novel.
Yeah. Came up with that on my own.
Weed. But anyways, it was a bowling night.
Uh-huh.
So it was Wednesday. I remember it was a Wednesday night. I used to bowl every Wednesday night, and I got a DWI going down the highway.
Do they evaluate you for alcohol?
They did.
And what did they come up with? Did you bullshit them?
I did. I lied my butt off.
Right. So what did they do with you?
They put me into classes, and I pretty much got out of that one. It didn't.
Yeah, okay. So did you get the AI out of it, or?
I did get an AI out of it.
Okay. So you go to the classes. The classes aren't really saying don't drink. They're saying don't drink so much so fast. It's one of the ones where they try to teach about blood alcohol.
Yeah, the different sides.
Yeah,
I mean, I lied to them about how much I was drinking, so they didn't. But I was drinking way more.
It was
but
purely
they knew by the
situational.
blood alcohol content how much I was actually drinking.
Right, but you're telling them that you're an occasional drinker that just got unlucky.
Yeah,
and it was bowling night.
And so you slide by that first one. Does it change your behavior? Are you drinking for any amount of time?
That one, no.
Okay. What happens next?
I ended up getting another one maybe 3 years later.
Bowling?
And I don't...
Right,
no, that wasn't a bowling.
So
night,
it's okay. So it is alcohol. It's not bowling.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to make sure of.
Okay, so you get your second DWI. You go in. They look back on your record. They see you've got a prior.
Right.
What happens in this evaluation?
Same thing. But during these evaluations, I continued to drink.
Right. And did you continue to lie to them about how much and all that? Yeah. So you're protecting your addiction.
I am.
Like that's normal for an alcoholic. Sure. And do they suggest at all you go to meetings or rehab or anything like that?
My first go around, they suggested I go to meetings.
Did you?
I went to one meeting.
How was that?
I vaguely remember it, but I know it was the only one I went to. I never.
And so you went, and you're like, yeah, whatever, and you walked out. You're like, this isn't for me.
Yeah,
I don't belong here. Right.
Exactly.
What about after the second one? Are you starting to think, maybe I do belong here?
Not yet? I don't remember going to any meetings after that.
Okay. So you get your second one. You get an attorney.
Right.
What is the outcome of that?
Saying it got reduced and no consequences.
So now you got two. What happens next?
I got a third one.
Oh, shit.
No.
How long after the second one?
So now it's just not unlucky.
That one was 3 years late. I got 3 within 10 years.
Okay, so you're driving and drinking. You only get caught 3 times out of probably hundreds of times you drove drunk, right?
God.
Exactly.
Yeah, I drove drunk hundreds. I never got a DUI.
Me either.
I was very lucky.
God, man. That's knocking on wood.
That's knocking on a table, but yeah. So you go for the third one. Are they like, listen, sir, there's a pattern?
Yeah, they wanted me to do intensive outpatient counseling.
And did your lawyer said you should probably do that?
Right.
So you did that.
I could have got a felony on the third one.
Oof. Yeah. So it's serious.
Right.
And you're like, holy shit, I better follow what they say. And so you go to outpatient counseling. And are you lying to them?
Yeah. At that point, my wife left me because I was married, and I was on my own. And I lied my butt. I was drinking through that thing too.
Sure.
The whole time.
Right. That's what alcoholics do.
Yeah.
Not a
Protecting
big
it the
surprise.
whole way, reasoning it all the way through. Yeah.
And but during this time, is there something inside your head that's going, you know what? I think this is more than I think it is. Or were you still not there yet?
I wasn't there.
Wow.
Yeah, it takes a lot, man.
Sure does.
And so you bullshit your way through this third one?
I did. It got reduced again.
Did you lose your license?
My license got revoked, yeah.
Yeah, for how long?
For a year.
Okay. And are you still driving, though?
Oh, yeah.
Are you still drinking and driving?
Not as much.
Oh, Jesus. So,
He's toned it down.
Well, that works. So what happens after that?
And I started getting heavily into cocaine and alcohol after
Oh,
that.
okay.
It was like the mid-'90s,
Yeah.
late 90s.
Yep. Cocaine was all over the place. Yeah.
Right.
And so you're doing a lot of coke, you're drinking, you got 3 DWIs, you lost your license. What happens next? What are the next consequences of your addiction?
The next consequences is I almost lost my job that I've been at since '83. So I was there like.
What was the
maybe-
story? What happened?
I was so heavily addicted into cocaine that I would call in
Yeah.
and I wouldn't show up.
Right.
I wouldn't call. Just
Yeah. So your attendance became an issue.
my attendance became an
Things
issue.
are a little
the job
more on it.
performance
Yeah.
was.
Did they
always-
sit you down and say, look, something's up?
Well, yeah. My boss told me if I don't turn this around, you're done.
Did he know you needed EAP, employee assistance, and all that stuff?
The company I was at, it was a family-owned business. So It wasn't really like that.
Okay, so it wasn't like a corporate thing where they say, go down to HR.
Yeah.
He was like, go talk to my wife. She wants to fire you.
Now, prior to that, when he gave me that consequence, I did go to rehab.
Oh, you did?
I did.
Like a 28-day or?
Yeah, it was 23 days.
Okay, so you go to rehab, you check in, do you detox?
Yeah, I detoxed there. And
What are you detoxing off of? Just alcohol or?
alcohol mainly.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so your detox, you go into the Gen Pop or whatever they want to call it, the regular, where the regular people are, and you're hearing things, you're working on it 24/7. Are you believing it? Are you still saying, that's not me?
No, I was believing it at
Okay,
that point.
so
but
you-
it wasn't stopping me, though.
Right. So you think, I'm probably an alcoholic, sure.
Right.
I'm probably a drug addict, maybe.
What makes you
But-
realize that, though? Is it just because you're around people that were like you?
Well, after I got the third DWI,
Yeah,
it
that was-
just, and I continued to drink after
Things
that.
are a
it
little
still
more-
was getting progressively worse. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and everything was starting to
Is there,
get way
is, there
more.
is there anybody in your life telling you, Dave, this isn't normal.
Yeah,
You got a
my,
problem.
My wife, my family.
So
everyone around me.
everybody's telling you?
Exactly.
Yeah, so but your denial is still working, right?
I was
And
in
you're like,
absolute
I know it
denial.
looks that way, but really, I can manage this.
Right.
Even though it's totally unmanageable. So you go to this rehab, you get out after 23 days. Do they suggest you go to meetings?
They did, and I actually stayed sober. I did go to meetings then.
Okay.
And I stayed sober for 90 days, and then I relapsed.
Did you do 90 and 90?
No.
Did you do 30 and 90?
Nope. It was sporadic.
Okay, so sporadically you're attending meetings, and are you getting anything out of it, do you think? Did you get a
no,
sponsor?
I wasn't getting anything. No.
No sponsors?
Just showing up.
Sponsor. I wasn't really getting anything.
No
out of it.
steps?
No steps, nothing.
So you white-knuckled it for 90 days,
I did
just
white
showing
knuckle
up.
it, but I was
And-
still playing with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
couldn't-
So what was that first drink back like, when you went out after 90
a lot
days?
of regret. I was very painful for me because I had given in again.
Yeah. And so you're kind of some kind of realization that I am an alcoholic. I do have a problem. It's going to get worse, but I'm drinking anyway.
Right.
And it has to be in the back of your head. Even though you didn't go to a ton of meetings, you heard some stuff, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I was getting the information. I just wasn't applying it to my life.
Right. Did you meet anyone in there that you identified with that you felt you could talk to? Or?
When I got after that meeting with my boss,
Mm-hmm.
that day, I walked back into the room's AA, and then I stayed sober for. I went to meetings for 5 years, stayed sober for about 11.
Oh, no
Wow.
kidding. So did you get a sponsor that time around?
I did.
Start working steps?
I worked the steps.
All right. Sharing at meetings, making friends, talking to other alcoholics.
doing
and
service
so it's
work.
working. It's
Yeah, I was
working.
actually. I was made coffee every Saturday.
Okay.
at that
Yeah,
meeting.
nice.
This is over. I'm not going to.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's working.
It is working.
Your life's getting better?
my life got real good.
Yeah, but after 5 years, you're like, I think I got this.
Well, after 5 years, everything was all, my life was going so good. I walked away from AA. We had a home built out where in the country, and
so AA worked so well that you thought you were cured.
I thought I was all set.
5 years. I got a graduate degree.
Yeah, pretty much.
So you get away from meetings, and you're probably okay for a while, right?
6 years.
I made it 6 years without drinking.
Yeah.
I honestly thought I would never drink again.
I'm sure we all do, yeah. I got away from AA just like you did for a while. And luckily, what happened with me is shit started going sideways. And I was able to realize I'm not drinking yet, but I feel like I want to. If I don't do something about this, I'm going to drink. And I ended up dragging my ass back to a meeting and started going to AA with a newfound vigor, because I realized that alcohol is just a symptom of my disease, and that without me treating it with steps and people and meetings, it's going to be there. It's going to manifest.
Right.
Then it's probably just a matter of time till I seek relief. I was fortunate. Most people aren't. So, and you're one of them. So after 11 years, walk me through that first drink.
It was progressive. It started out with taking anxiety medicine.
Okay.
So are you having anxiety attacks?
I was.
Yeah.
I was depressed.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so
I had
bad.
anxiety attacks, where I couldn't catch my
Oh, it
breath.
feels like you're going to die.
Yeah.
I know about that.
I've had them too. It's very common in AA. Anxiety is something that a lot of alcoholics share. So you go to the doctor and he prescribes.
He gave me alprazolam.
Okay, so basically for
that was for the anxiety.
Right, so that is...
and an antidepressant.
Right, it's basically Prozac, right?
No, that's
that's
Xanax.
Xanax.
This is Xanax.
Yeah, Xanax, okay,
Correct.
which is highly addictive.
Right.
Which alcoholics just love.
Oh, I was addicted.
It uses the
Addicted
same
to 'em.
receptors as alcohol. That's what my shrink told me.
Well, they are, because
Yeah.
my doctor told me they're like pure alcohol.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yep. When I got him, I was sober, and I had he gave me a prescription for 3, and he said if you have to go on a plane, if you're losing your fucking mind, take one. He goes, but I'm going to tell you this, because I had good recovery then. He goes, probably just having these 3 in your possession is going to be enough, just to know that you got this. So you don't totally flip yourself. And he was right. I never used one of them.
Yeah.
So it was magic. But so you get prescribed Xanax.
And I started abusing them.
Yeah.
I like the feeling.
Yeah. So you start taking them and they're working. And then you're like, And then like most addicts, you say, I wonder what happened if I took 2. Right? And then...
Yeah, I was eating them like candy.
You know what's funny? I was at a meeting and somebody brought up that they had read in a scientific journal that they have developed a pill that it's like a receptor blocker or some shit, and they're like, this potentially could cure alcoholism. And the girl next to me leans over and says, I wonder what 2 of them would do.
That's right.
And I was like, that is fantastic, because you're not going to cure that.
But again, that's not going to cure what's going on really with us, right? Because we're dealing with all those things that we were trying to shove down or forget or not feel, those types
like
of things.
Antabuse when it came out.
Yeah,
if you take a drink, you're going to be so sick, you're going to never fucking...
Yeah. So we'll just find something else.
People stop taking it.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Yeah, right.
It's only as good as,
Yeah, I remember my brother took Antabuse. So.
Yeah. Did it work for him?
Did
he just stop
not
taking
for long. He just quit taking it.
Yeah, that's what people do,
again.
sure. So you get into the Xanax, and does it bring you back to alcohol?
Not yet. I went to pain pills.
Oh, okay. So you go to opiates?
Opiates.
Yep, shit.
Prescribed?
The first probably, right?
The first script probably,
Yeah.
if I remember correctly. But I was getting them, like I had people that I could get them from for free.
Wow, yeah.
So I had a brother that got prescribed those, and he gave me his prescriptions.
So now it's opiates. Do you start drinking too or no?
Eventually I picked up the drink.
Yeah, I mean, because you can say, well, I'm not drinking. It's like, Matt Y, our very first guest ever, got clean from opiates, and he started drinking.
Yeah.
He's like, well, I'm not doing opiates.
That's a substitute.
Yeah. And so he ended up crashing and burning on that, like we all do.
I ended up Xanax or Prazolam, opiates, and alcohol. I was doing all 3 of them at the same time.
Yeah, we had a guest on that said that was his magic 3.
Yeah.
Yeah. He just loved those three.
It's a great cocktail.
Yeah. And so, do you get worse fast? Or what did I just say?
Oh, yeah. It got really bad. It got, after I started drinking again, it was within months that it got real bad. And then I started smoking crack cocaine.
Okay. You know, it's interesting, but, people talk about an alcoholic personality or the type of people we are. We are addictive personalities. Mm-hmm. And whether it's crack, heroin, coke, uppers, downers, gambling, sex, shopping, money, you name
whatever.
We can become addicted to it.
It makes me feel different.
Right. It's all about that. And there was a guy I know that was a gambling addict. He was a GA guy. And he was like, it's all about the scooch. That little feeling he would have when he gambled more than he was supposed to or more than he could afford. There was that little bit of just like take him out of his own self. Yeah. That was the addiction. And, there's a million ways to find it, and we'll find it. So we got to know ourselves.
Right.
And we got to have a design for living in place because we're powerless and we're defenseless against that shit unless we're practicing some kind of recovery.
No, I agree. You got to have recovery in your life.
And so you're there in this spot, and now you're smoking crack, and do you feel like defeated?
Yeah, I was in a real bad, dark place at that point. I was defeated. I ended up losing the job.
Yeah.
I was there 28 years.
Oh, shit, yeah.
Totally isolated.
My wife, after that, what happened is that we lost everything.
Yeah, the house.
We had a beautiful home built. We had all the toys. Everything I thought was
everything that sobriety brought you. All the toys, they're all gone.
I lost it all.
Yeah.
We lost it all.
Yeah.
Everything.
Did you lose her too?
She did. She eventually left me again.
Yeah. So you're alone with nothing except your addiction.
That's where it ended up.
That's how your addiction wants it, right?
Exactly.
So what happens? What turns it around?
She had left me. She was gone. I think it was the second year after she left.
Mm-hmm.
That I was in a one-bedroom apartment and by myself, and all I was doing at that point was drinking every day.
Yeah.
Going to get my alcohol, drinking, going to get smoking crack periodically, smoking weed periodically. But at that point, it got so bad that I surrendered, man. I couldn't do it anymore.
So you realized it.
I did realize it because I was in the program before.
Yeah,
right. So what is your surrender look like? What were the circumstances?
My surrender was walking into the Veterans Administration emergency room and telling them that I needed help.
Yeah.
Wow.
And were they set up for that? Were they good? Were they good with that?
They sent me to a detox in Pennsylvania.
Uh-huh.
And I was there a week, and then they sent me to a long-term facility, and I was there for 53 days.
Okay. But are things different now? Are you now?
Oh, God.
Your guts have been ripped out.
I'm done fighting it.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm done.
So you have the gift of desperation.
I did get the gift of desperation, and that helped me a lot.
Yeah.
I completely surrendered, and I made a decision, like they talk about in the program.
Yep.
And once I made that decision, it made it easier for me to continue on with the steps. And
so now we're getting to the point that I love to hear about.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that recovery.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd love to hear your story about it.
So when I got my first day, I got out on a Friday, September 21st,
2018, yeah.
Of 18, and I went right to my first meeting that night.
Mm-hmm.
Now, at this time, are you a little afraid that you may do what you did before and you want to make sure that doesn't happen?
I was only afraid because I was living alone in that same apartment.
Okay.
I had a little healthy fear.
Yeah, that is healthy fear, yeah. So you're like, I know myself, and this is this is dangerous.
When I was in rehab, I didn't even want to go back to the apartment. I wanted to actually relocate.
Okay.
But I'm glad that I didn't because it helped me to face the fear.
Yeah.
And know that, with the help of Alcoholics Anonymous, the people in it.
Right. The change of location wasn't what it was about. It was about the changes in you.
I had tried relocating before, and I ended up back in
geographical solution.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you come back. The first thing you do is go to a meeting. You raise your hand and say, I just got out of rehab.
Yeah.
Were they welcoming?
Very welcome.
Yeah.
And I had a fear when I was out there of the coming back.
Yeah.
What
will they
kept
say?
me out of the rooms.
Right. You're like, I can't go back and face those people. That kind of
Right.
stuff.
They'll be so
Yeah, and let me
disappointed.
tell everyone out there, please come back and face those people.
Yeah, get over it.
No one
because-
is going to point a finger and call
No.
you a loser. You know what? You're a winner if you come back.
That's right.
It's the loser that doesn't come back.
That's right.
Those are the ones that lose.
You know, and before I went to rehab, I would try numerous times. I would come to an AA meeting, and I might raise my hand or I might not raise my hand. I had tried to get sober again, but I wasn't ready.
Yeah.
Now you are.
You just couldn't get traction.
I couldn't get kick-started again.
Yeah.
So I needed to get
You needed
away
to get
from
your
society.
ass kicked and
Yeah.
be put into a long-term thing. And so, did you get a lot out of that second rehab, the last rehab?
I got the most out of that because I had been in I had also been to other rehabs.
Sure.
I was in a psych ward for a week. I had been to numerous detoxes.
Yeah.
But the last one, I got a ton
Right.
out of it.
And probably the change was you, right? You were
Yeah.
receptive. So you go to that first meeting. Do you get another sponsor pretty quick?
I got another sponsor within a month.
Okay.
So
And you probably already worked the steps. Do you start again?
I started all over because it didn't work for me the first time.
Yeah.
What was different this time, as far as
My
your experience
willingness.
with it? Yeah, your
My willingness
Yeah.
to change.
That's something that you can't give someone, and it's something that not everyone has. A lot of people say, yes, I'm an alcoholic. Yes, I need help. My life is completely unmanageable. But like you experienced, you didn't have the willingness. And that little voice in the back of your head, that denial is always chirping. And all it takes is a couple percent
Right.
of that.
Especially
and,
when somebody's telling you what you got to do with a list of steps. I mean, good Lord. Ugh.
Right. Plus, I mean, you don't see how you can be happy without it.
No way.
Without it. You just don't see
I
it.
didn't even know how to have fun without alcohol or drugs.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, but now you're like, wow, it's not a matter of fun now. It's a matter of survival.
Well, I had been told that my doctor told me I had cirrhosis of the liver a year before I ever got sober.
Yeah. So you got the cirrhosis already starting. Luckily, if you're not that far gone, your liver can repair itself.
My liver has bounced back.
Yeah. Nice. I had fatty liver, which they said is a precursor to cirrhosis, of which my father was actually dying from at the time when I first got sober. But it's hard to scare an alcoholic. We all know that, So, you got cirrhosis of the liver. Yeah, well,
I had to get sick of me before I was ever going to do anything.
Right. So
your step work.
So you're out there, and you're going to meetings again, and you got a fresh start with a newfound attitude about the whole thing. And so what happens?
I got a sponsor. We started right into the book.
Read it with you?
And he read. He would have me read, and then we would meet, and we would read through it again.
Yeah.
And, I worked the first 4 steps very quickly. Yeah, he had me on a stringent timetable.
Let me ask you this about steps 2 and 3. So you went through it before, and you had a good basis for a spiritual foundation earlier in your sobriety that lasted 11 years. What was it like being out and so desperate, but still having that knowledge of a higher power? Did you ask your higher power for help during that time?
I did, but there was a ton of guilt.
Yeah.
I was in a lot of pain, but
And
I just kept burying that pain.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's drugs and alcohol. If you're asking your higher power for help, but you're not willing to accept it, it's a fucking conundrum, isn't it?
It is.
It's like hell of drinking, the hell of not drinking. It's everything that is either going to kill you or you're going to get to the point that you did, where something in your gut says, "I have to do this." And that's what happened with me too. Is I just got to a point where I'm like, this is a point of desperation, where I'm like, and what I said was, I can't do this, And then I was like, I don't know what to do. And I didn't know what was in, I knew of AA, but I didn't know what was in AA. Mm-hmm. And, after my first probably couple months, I still didn't really, but I knew I had to put the drink down and I couldn't do it. And AA helped me to do that, step 1. They helped me to do step 1. It took me a while to get there.
When I feel I did my first step again when I walked into the emergency
into the VA
and surrender.
Yeah, you're saying I'm powerless.
Right, and my life is absolutely unmanageable.
Right, I can't do this on my own.
And I remember being in rehab, and I always believed in a higher power.
Yeah.
But I actually believe I did the second step in rehab.
Sure.
Because I actually believed that a power greater than me could help me again, because he helped me before.
Yeah, right. It had worked before.
Right.
You stopped working it.
I stopped working.
When you stopped working it, it stopped working.
Right.
And so you're back. You're getting sober. You're starting to feel better.
Yeah, I started feeling good right away. Actually, I felt great when I got out of rehab. I was ready, man.
But here's what happened with me: is I still have a healthy fear in my gut that is very dark, and I never want to lose that. And I'll tell you when I feel it again is when a newcomer comes in. Somebody comes in, they just break down and start to cry. I feel that again. I'm like, I get it, man. It's fucking desperation, but it's a gift. It's a gift.
It is a gift.
Yep. And so you've been sober for a while now.
I have.
You're into service. I know that. You do a lot of service work, right?
I do.
Yeah.
You work with other people. You sponsor other people.
Yes, I do.
You said at one point during your sobriety you got all the things. Did you start getting those things back? Job?
I got everything back. Plus.
Yeah.
My life is absolutely, I'm amazed at what happened. It reversed 180, and my higher powers blessed me with more than I could have ever thought I could have again.
And you know what? There's a lot of people out there that are active, and they don't think that can happen for them. They're like, that's great, it happened for that guy, but I don't see it happening for me. I don't see a way out. And then when you come in, they say your life will get better beyond your wildest dreams if you don't drink and you practice the program and help talk to another alcoholic. And I didn't believe that. I thought that was a bullshit line. But it's true. We are very capable people. We're not stupid people. We're not bad people. We're people with a disease. And if that disease gets treated and we live in this design for living that we're given, good things happen, And it's not only the physical things like a nice house and a nice car and all that.
That stuff doesn't even matter.
Right. It's about living an honest life.
That's what we used to think mattered.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. That stuff's nice. But it's really about living an honest life with a good foundation, good friendships. Right. And do you go bowling now?
I have. I've been AA bowling.
Yeah.
Nice.
So it wasn't the bowling. I think, if nothing else, I think we've determined it wasn't the bowling that did it.
Right. That's right.
So.
Just to reiterate, the things.
Yeah.
They just don't mean as much anymore.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
It's about that.
Right. Because you've seen it in your life. Cars come and go. Houses come and go.
Exactly.
Relationships come and go.
Clearly.
Yeah. But it's not, but you're like, but I know what I don't want, right?
Exactly.
I don't want to be stuck in a house smoking crack by myself with no prospects.
That's a dark place.
It is a dark place. And, usually we have to get there.
Oh, yeah, I did.
Just know that if you're there or, you're on your way there, that there is a way out, But
there is a way out.
Yeah.
There is.
But you have to be willing to do what it takes. You have to be willing to do the work, Right. And in your case and in my case and probably in every case, when you stop doing the work, it stops working. It's that simple.
And it's that's something I learned from being in the program before.
Yeah.
I have to continue to work on my alcoholism every day. It's just not coming to meetings anymore. You know what I mean? It's
That's right.
Working on my alcoholism.
Right, and you don't graduate.
Never graduate.
And I know for myself, this is not going away. And the reason I know that, even I haven't drank in 34 years, but the alcoholic thinking has not gone away for 34 years.
It's not still there.
It exhibits itself on a daily basis.
It does.
And so I'm like, even today I was thinking, I've been having a hard time the last couple days. And I started thinking today, and what came to my mind was, I have to really practice powerlessness because I'm not doing that. I'm thinking that I have power over a lot of things that I just don't.
Right.
People, money, situations, relationships. I just don't have power over it. And if for some reason I feel like I do, and it destroys me.
Right.
So today my thing was I got to realize I'm powerless. And
that's a power in itself, though. I'll argue that. Because it's a different power that you do have to be able to exhibit that and notice it and fix it.
Right, but it doesn't come from me.
Right.
It comes from a higher power. And so when I started thinking that way and practicing that, I started feeling better.
That's right.
And I'm like, holy shit. It like gets lifted, you know.
With a little dose of humility that probably came in there.
And a little dose of Milo barking.
Oh, man.
Every episode he barks.
He's definitely present this time.
Yeah, we should, you know what we should do? We should have him on as a guest sometime.
You know,
sit him in a chair, put headphones on him, have him bark away, and so get it out of his system.
I think he's just jealous.
He's not an alcoholic dog, I can tell you that.
No.
Never had a drop in his life.
No.
Remember when we were young, people would give their dogs booze? Or,
oh, my God.
Or shotgun joints in their face?
I did that to ferrets. Yeah.
Did you?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God. I remember, let's get the cat high. That's fucked up. You know? First of all, I don't know if I don't even know if they have the receptors to get high.
I've seen that.
Yeah. I mean, you give them catnip and they'll go batshit, but do they even have the receptors to get high?
I don't know, but I don't want to talk about it because next thing you know, we'll be being contacted by PETA and all these animal rights.
God. Well, I just remember that, being young and thinking, that's kind of fucked up.
But we are reformed. Yes.
Well, we're saying don't do that.
Yes.
So,
it's not good for the kitty.
So, Dave, is there anything that you would offer to either someone who's listening and is thinking about trying to reach out for help or is new in the program from your experience that you could share with them that you think might help?
My suggestion would be to walk through the fear, because every time I walk through a fear, it gives me more strength.
Right, and that loses its power. When you walk through it, it loses its power.
It does. You know, I was never a people person, but now I'm very
good with people
person.
Yeah,
you know, it's just.
I always thought that a couple of years ago I was writing a song, and the song was basically the lyrics were masking a song about addiction, and the last line was, "Fear is the biggest liar," and I've always felt that throughout my life. It doesn't mean I don't have fear. I do a lot.
Right.
Of like everything, basically. My 4-step revealed that.
And it robs us of everything.
But it's a fucking liar, you know?
Right.
And it's made up out of my ego.
Yeah.
And I'm so bad at dealing with it.
Just like, hey, I can illustrate right here. I was terrified to ask you to be on this podcast. I was terrified. I love the hell out of you, and you know that. But I was terrified.
He was.
And what a liar, right?
No.
That's exactly what I had told myself. I knew it would be like, well, it's just not my thing, and then I just would have been crushed if I heard no. But I knew at the same time he probably wouldn't have said no, and look what we got here. So that fear was a liar.
You know, I learned over the years that saying no to AA doesn't work.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, when somebody gives me an opportunity to share any part of my story or anything that has to do with Alcoholics Anonymous, I try and do it.
Right.
Yeah.
And it helps you.
And it helps them.
It helps me tremendously.
Right.
Now.
And, I know from talking to different people that these podcasts are helpful. They're not an answer, but they're a piece,
Of course.
People tell me, I don't miss an episode, or they'll text me and say, I just heard so-and-so, loved the message about, whatever it was. And so it's a good thing. And, it started out with Bill and Bob sharing, and now we have other ways of sharing,
That's right.
So thanks so much for coming in, Dave, and sharing with us. It was great to hear your story and your message of hope for others. So until next time on the Glum Lot Podcast, I'm Mark.
I am Brett.
I'm Dave.
As we wrap up another episode of the Glum Lot Podcast, we want to extend our heartfelt gratitude to each and every one of you who tuned in today. Navigating the path to recovery from alcohol and other substances is a journey filled with challenges, triumphs, and self-discovery. Remember, we're not affiliated with Alcoholics Anonymous, but we're here to provide a safe space for open conversations about the complexities of recovery. Your stories, courage, and resilience inspire us and our listeners alike. If you or someone you know is on the transformative journey, know that you're not alone. Join us next time as we continue to explore the diverse facets of recovery. Until then, stay strong, stay connected, and remember that each day is a step towards a brighter, sober tomorrow. Thank you for being part of the Glum Lot community.